started. We need to have the prosecutors. The other thing is we need to have prosecutors on our side. We need to have the prosecuting attorneys take another look at it. That's why we're hopeful in this case that we have a new judge. We have a new prosecutor in Craighead County. We're really hoping they take a real serious look at the evidence and now, at this stage, rule favorably for Damien, Jason, and Jesse.
So as many of these innocent, allegedly, people that are in jail, getting this case back to where it has come is just a remarkable feat, it seems like, with all the slowness of the process and all that. But you get the DNA evidence, you get one of these dead kids' fathers who says that these guys didn't do it.
Mark Myers.
You get the FBI profiler, Jack Douglas, to say there's no way.
Right.
So all of these things come to a head. Now, when will this go? When will the evidentiary hearing take place? And what is allowed in that courtroom?
Well, it's very interesting that the Arkansas Supreme Court, in their decision, and I'll just read a sentence, said that they are it's called mandating the court to consider the DNA test results with all other evidence in the case, regardless of whether that evidence was introduced at trial, to determine if Eccles is established by compelling evidence that a new trial would result in his acquittal. So what they're saying, and what they said unanimously, was that all evidence of his innocence, all evidence of their innocence, whether it was introduced or not, there was a lot of material that wasn't introduced at trial. The defense did not have expert witnesses. The issue of the false confession and the juror misconduct, which is really shocking, that was brought into Damien and Jason's trial, and also the concept of false confessions. Jesse was coerced into making a false confession, and he is not alone. Upwards of 25% of all wrongful convictions exonerated through DNA have been false confessions. It is a phenomena that people don't really understand because everybody says, hey, I wouldn't confess to a crime I didn't commit. The facts are you probably would, especially if you're innocent. And once a confession is introduced, whether it's false or not, juries usually convict. And that evidence of experts on confessions and also how that confession was taken and what the information was, most people don't know that when Jesse was asked about the crime and the police asked him what time it took place, he said 9 in the morning. And of course, the children were in school at 9 in the morning. So right off the bat, the police should have realized it was a confession that a young man who had some mental disabilities was making false statements. But they did the opposite. They encouraged him. They, we believe, fed him information, and that statement was then used in Damien and Jason's trial, even though Jesse immediately recanted, and certainly to this day.
Wow, what a complicated process this is. So you when you sit and talk to Damien, he's grown up obviously into a man. His attitude, as presented in TV interviews locally, is very composed, very mature. An entirely different person.
He's not blowing kisses from the witness stand and things like that.
I think that was unfortunate. Certainly, Damien was a young guy who a teenager, and kind of remember when we were teenagers, who had the world against him. I mean, he was thrust. Here was a kid who was, just a teenager looking to have a good time, having friends, and all of a sudden he was picked out. He was actually cited almost immediately. From the time the poor children were found, the police and the juvenile workers said, this must be Damien Eccles. So essentially they made a beeline for Damien and then tried to build a case around him. And unfortunately, they got a conviction. Fortunately, there was very little evidence. There was no evidence linking Damien, Jason, and Jesse to the crime. So Damien's an incredible young man. He's, he understands his struggle. Thankfully, he's more optimistic today than he ever has been, as he said, in the 17 and a half years in prison. It's the best news. And I just for a moment, I think we should, get a sense of what it was like to have the entire world against you. so the comments that he may have made, that were unfortunate certainly at the time, and people look back on him and say, oh, he must have been guilty. But in fact, he was a young man without any support and the world against him who thought that he murdered 3 children. So not an easy thing to handle for an adult or a teenager.
Now, it just does seem, and we are also easily swayed by the media and, now more than ever by things that you read or see. But this case seems to be just a real unjustifiable, and it's just a real tough thing to have these guys in jail for 17 years. But the process, as you say, is very slow, methodical, and it'll carry on at some point into this hearing.
And the tip line is still open, correct? You're still
tip line is still open. We ask anybody with any information, even if they think it's not important, but any information about this case. Do you guys have the tip line?
Yeah, it's area code 501, Arkansas, 501-256-1775.
Right, and we want this case to move quickly. We're hopeful that a new judge and a new prosecutor in Craighead County will recognize and have recognized the injustice and will, in fact, they have the power and they can join with us to right a terrible wrong. And we hope that moves quickly, and we hope Damien and Jason and Jesse have an opportunity. Of course, this is also means that somebody else out there in the community is still out there. We hope that those people are brought to justice.
Lonnie, great meeting you. Have a good holiday, and we will talk to you again as this all progresses.
Thank you very much.
Thanks so much. Lonnie Soury, Arkansas Take Action. That's a sharp